All right, so as we head into the home stretch, our readings for this week are relatively light, and that is purposeful so that everyone can keep on target with completing the milestone project. This is the announcement for Module 8, and just as a reminder, the due date for this project is at the conclusion of Module 9, so that's not far away. While the readings are light in number and length, they introduce a topic which we would do well to think about, and that is the place which nature has in the theme as a theme in American literature. As with so many of the themes we have discussed, the subject of nature in literature could easily be the focus for not just an entire course, but an entire series of courses. Not that long ago, we were jumping into our textbook by Gray, and we were hearing about how European conquerors and settlers brought a different perspective with them about the land which is now our home. Gray goes to some lengths to put this into distinction from the views of Native Americans, and this is really a good place to start. At its heart, I think that what we have to acknowledge is that any relationship we try to describe between the human and nature is a constructed one which is interwoven with culture and its expectations. Enlightenment philosophy pondered a lot about the natural state, wondering what humanity was with the veneer of civilization stripped away. But in the end, this question is, well, nonsense. Once we define civilization as just a hierarchy of cultures, we quickly come to the realization that there is no that there is no humanity without society, which is to say, there's no such thing as a natural state if that is to be one without a corresponding culture. So if we sample any period of literature from the U.S., we can immediately discern viewpoints of nature. And sometimes these correlate with larger movements, and sometimes they're rather unique. And I'm just going to, give a couple of examples. Take The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper, where our hero, Natty Bumppo, is good, honest, and strong. He can shoot and hunt and track, and his companions are Native Americans. To make the divide between Bumppo and civilization complete, he is also illiterate, so that we know that his capable persona is never dependent on formal education, but lived experience within the wilderness. What we can surmise is the message: association with this environment makes good people like him. Nature is nurturing. When we get to the end of the 19th century, we can see something very different going on in The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane. When Henry Fleming flees the fighting on the second day of the Battle of Chancellorsville, he finds himself in a kind of natural cathedral within the woods. Rather than acting as a reformative counterpoint to the violence wrought by civilization, he finds in the quiet green shelter only more death, in the form of a decaying soldier who has preceded him to this place. The message here is that association with the environment means literally nothing, because nature is indifferent and the pursuits of humanity inherently focus on itself. When we hit the late 20th century, yet something else is going on. Take a look at any of the work of essayist and poet Wendell Berry. What he talks about is living in connection with the land as an extension of who you are. This can be taken in a politically conservative kind of way, looking back to a time when we were less mobile and when we might be part of the same community in the same portion of the country from birth to death as the norm. However, Berry's agenda is in talking about how this old-timey connection leads to the benefit of recognizing the need for conservation and protection of the land in a very liberal way. And when he describes his own experience of life in rural Kentucky and uses it to justify his arguments for what should be, there are deafening echoes of Thoreau, Emerson, and transcendentalist perspectives in everything he says. So we come back to the view that nature is, at the end of the day, us, and we our nature. So I really just plucked those examples out of my head, and I could go on plucking indefinitely because there are so many possibilities to talk about when it comes to the theme of nature and U.S. lit. Your sole extra responsibility this week is to engage in a discussion on nature through our examples of nature poetry. So do your best on those and really do give it some thought because it really is a significant area to explore. I'll be getting feedback to you on your drafts for the milestone project just as quickly as I can. And if you have specific questions on that, then bounce them right back to me and I will get back to you and we'll clarify everything that needs to happen. All right? And as usual, if you need to get a hold of me, please do so. Till next time, adios.